At the very least, we should debate. We should debate whether or not we are going to relinquish our rights. We should be in rebellion, saying to our government that the Constitution that protects our freedoms must be obeyed. Where's the outrage? The bulk collection of our records, this invasion of privacy, isn't even working. That we aren't capturing terrorists that we wouldn't have caught otherwise by this information.
All right, Rand Paul, you know by now, he's against the Patriot Act. Joining us now is the one and only Andrew McCarthy, former federal prosecutor, author of Faithless Execution, Building the Political Case for Obama's Impeachment, and of course, National Review columnist. Andy, I will have the pleasure of seeing you tomorrow. I won't say where, but I will see you tomorrow in celebration of a new a broadside from Encounter Books, Islam and Free Speech. So we'll talk about that the next time you're on, but congratulations on that. That's obviously a very important book.
Thanks so much, Steve, and looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. All right, let's talk about a piece, your last piece, I think, that you wrote at nationalreview.com, and that is why the national security wing of the Republican Party lost the Patriot Act debate.
Yeah, I think they have, and I consider myself part of the national security right, so I think I'm probably as close to it as anyone, and it is an issue I follow pretty closely the last 10 years. We've clearly lost it, and I think a lot of that has to do with Senator Paul, who, you know, look, if we were all trained lawyers, I think you could comfortably say, I know I comfortably say, that as a constitutional scholar, Senator Paul makes a pretty good ophthalmologist. But it hasn't really seemed to make any difference, because as absurd as the constitutional claims he's made against the Patriot Act have been, they nevertheless have resonated with a lot of people, unfortunately. And I think, I was just going to add that I think people on our side of the debate have not done a good job, particularly the government people, of defending this program and explaining why it's important.
Well, I was going to say, why is that? And I didn't mean to interrupt. And you're absolutely right. And it always comes down to that on the Republican side. You know, whether it's the abortion debate, which I think, as evidenced by, again, Rand Paul is in this with Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I think Republicans, if they take it, they could win it. But they never explain. They run away, or they hide, or they just concede an issue. And I think, for the most part, they have conceded here.
Yeah, they have, Steve. And the other thing that's disturbing that they do is they allow the press to establish a sort of narrative. They allow the opposition to establish a narrative, and then they argue from the narrative instead of from reality. So to be more concrete about this, what we hear again and again is that there's no direct correlation between having this metadata program and thwarting terrorist attacks. And the problem with that is that the point of the program is not to thwart terrorist attacks as much as we hope that it does. The point of the program is to help us map terrorist cells, figure out their membership, and track down their funding sources so that those could be choked off. Moreover, the way intelligence works, much like the way evidence works in criminal prosecutions, it's rare that a single piece of evidence is the one that you can say, that's what we're basing proof on, or that's what we're basing a conviction on. It's a mosaic. It's all kinds of information that rolls in together. So if the test is going to be, you know, does this one piece, this one source of information, is it, you know, is it the thing that determines whether a terrorist attack happens or not? That's an impossible standard to meet, and yet we've argued this as if that was the correct way to look at it.
So you suggest we, I think you wrote, hold our noses and accept the USA Freedom Act until we could, you know, do something differently.
Yeah, well, because if we don't do that, there are two other provisions of the Patriot Act, the roving wiretaps and what they call the lone wolf provision, which are very important. The roving wiretap, which is authority that the Justice Department has had for, you know, like drug cases going back to the 80s, just allows the government to continue monitoring someone if he discards one phone and starts to use another one, which they do purposely to evade surveillance. And the lone wolf provision allows us to do national security investigations on people who appear to be engaged in terrorism but we don't yet have enough proof to connect them to a particular terrorist organization. So I think most people who look at those two provisions say common sense says we need these authorities.
Yep.
Even if we have an argument about metadata, we're going to lose those authorities if the clock strikes 12 on June 1st or May 31st,
Right.
and we haven't resolved this.
No, that's a very good point. We need to have at least that in place at the very least. Andy, always great to talk to you, sir. We'll speak to you soon. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Steve.
Andy McCarthy, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, co-founder, PJ Media, Roger Simon will join us in his latest election thoughts. Don't go away.